Hey guys, my name is Hugh Benjamin. I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about some different topics that would actually help your business grow. The first one that I want to talk to you about is podcasts. Podcasts are becoming huge. Spotify is huge now in podcasts, and it's a big opportunity for those of you that want to put content out there and be found by many people on many different platforms. So let's look at some of the platforms when it comes to podcasts that you can actually get your content on, and to actually get it out there in those feeds is free, and they have the ability to actually push out your content. So if we look at some of the different platforms for podcasts, we have iTunes, which obviously is Apple. A lot of people are on iTunes. Spotify, there's iHeartRadio, there's also Stitcher, and there's many out there. GooglePlay. So these are some of the big ones that are out there right now. But imagine that you're on an Apple platform like iTunes and you're trying to do SEO. You're trying to get your brand out there, your products, your message, or even brand yourself as an authority within your vertical. So maybe you're in the wellness industry, or you do yoga, or perhaps you're selling supplements in an e-commerce store. You know, when people find educational stuff on these different platforms, you have the ability to actually get into somebody's head and build trust by educating the public. Content and podcasts is a way to give people a massive amount of value so that you can build a relationship with those people and they can actually find you on Google. This also helps your SEO because each one of these becomes a link, and each one of these has a high domain authority. A site like iTunes is going to have a very high domain authority compared to if you go and put up your own blog, right? So the really great thing about podcasts is it's super easy. All you need is media hosting. You need to actually just, when you sign up, like for example, I use Simplecast. When you go into Simplecast, it actually tells you step by step how you can load your podcast up. The other thing that you can do with podcasts is you can transcribe the podcasts and load up specific keywords and also links to drive traffic back to your website and the channels that you have on social media. You know, when you're doing business with people online, most people will see a website and then they'll leave the website and they'll go look for either some kind of justification why they want to do business with that person, or maybe they don't find anything and fear creeps into their mind and they go, oh my gosh, it sounded really good, but how come nobody else is talking about this person? Or maybe they look up and your YouTube channel only has one video and they go, wait, this person said they were passionate, they're gonna charge me all these money, but then they're like, wait, they talk a really good game, but they're not doing it themselves. So you have to be consistent as a business, whether you're building a brand, building a company, whether you're selling products, you've gotta always educate people and push that content out there. Now we had a client, they were actually trying to reach 1 million people in a year and get 1 million in emails. And what we did was we took all their YouTube videos, they had over 700 videos, and we actually took the audio portion from the video, we edited it with an intro and an outro, we loaded it up, we wrote the transcriptions, we wrote the descriptions, we optimized it with specific keywords, and within 90 days, they had over, I think it was over 6,000 or 7,000 downloads of podcasts. You know, we have a client that's actually in the entertainment industry, and it was so funny. We started doing these podcasts. We were doing Zoom. It's a platform that's free, and we recorded these sessions. And we just asked a lot of questions about people that they've worked with or their process within, you know, what they teach the students. And we took those and we edited those and we put up all these podcasts. Now, that entertainment person that actually coaches people, they've worked with renowned people like Benicio del Toro and Selma Hayek and Jason Momoa. Now they have people contacting them, not just from Los Angeles, but from New York and Wisconsin. And now there's people even moving into the state to work with them. And the credibility has already been established because they're on iTunes and Spotify and iHeartRadio. And the funny thing is, when people call this person now, the person was used to like explaining like what they do in their class and the value. And now people say, hey, you don't have to explain this to me. I already listened to you explain it on all these different podcasts. I'm sold. How do I sign up? So podcasts are really beneficial. The key with any kind of content online these days is to be consistent. Like I said, if you put up one and you stop the pattern, then you slow down the momentum, and then you're not building this net on the web that's going to bring all these customers to you and your website. So you've got to make it a habit, just like brushing your teeth. And most people that get into business, they don't want to have a business for 30 days and then quit, because what's the point of starting your business? You've got to be consistent. We had a client, like I said, they put up 700 of these podcasts where we edited them from the YouTube video, and we put them up on 15 different platforms. So think about that. 15 times 700, that's roughly 10,000 links that we put up on Google within the first 30 days of working with this client. And then next thing you know, they were getting all sorts of emails to their website. They had artists that wanted to work with them. They had influencers that wanted to work with them. They had people reaching out on social media that are like, oh my gosh, I saw your podcast. And we were reaching, I think in a month, we were reaching almost 1 million people in engagement, because we were doing live streams, we were posting the podcast, and we were sharing this content to other platforms too. So you can share this to Facebook, you can share this to LinkedIn, you can even embed these onto your website so people can find them. And then when they go to your website and they're on your website, now they go over and they subscribe to iTunes. You can also share them on YouTube. Now, cross promotion is super important, because the people that are on podcasts, maybe they just live with the podcast. That's all they listen to. And people that are on LinkedIn, maybe they just stay on LinkedIn. I know a lot of business people that stay on LinkedIn that don't go to Facebook, they don't go to podcasts. They pretty much do a lot of their social engagement through LinkedIn. So you want to share and cross promote these. Twitter is another one. Even if you're doing a blog, you can actually embed the podcast. A lot of the podcasts actually have what we call audiograms, or little snippets, where you can take that and share it on social media. So you just give people like a little teaser of 1 or 2 minutes, and then when they click on it, it takes them to the podcast. And then obviously, if you're building a brand, you always want to have a call to action, either on your website or in your social media, that asks people to like them or comment on them or subscribe. And people do what you ask them to do, but if you never ask, then how will they do it, right? So that's the key with podcasts, is being consistent. I think it's probably one of the most underrated platforms right now that a lot of people are getting a lot of traction from. I had somebody that worked with me for a couple of years when I had my event planning company, and they actually started a podcast on financial advice for millennials. They did it for like a year, not much happened, but they just kept putting up the podcast. And when I listened to the podcast, they weren't perfect. They weren't like audio engineered. It's not like they were in a studio. They were actually doing conference calls and taking the audio from the conference call and then loading them up on as a podcast on iTunes. So what happened was they started getting some interest, and then a year after that, they actually got sponsorships from a bank. Now they get flown to like speak at different events for financial advice when it comes to like millennial. And their sponsorships are now close to 6 figures a year, just because they consistently kept putting content out there and they were dedicated to their message. So that's something that you want to do, is just stay on track. And if you need help with podcasts, you can always reach out to us. We do it for many people that don't want to touch it. It is very simple. And if you're going to build a brand and build a business, it just makes sense.